Hi, welcome to How to Repair. In this video, I'll be showing you everything you need to know about grill elements and testing grill elements. Grill elements are not just used for grilling the food, they are also used in conjunction with the conventional convection oven. The convection oven uses a base element and either the full circuit on a single element or part of the circuit on a dual element. In this video, I'll be showing you how to test an element basically using resistance. I'll also be teaching you how to do an ohms reading on the element, which will give us the resistance value of the element. And then using Ohm's law calculator, we will be able to establish what the wattage is on each of the circuits. We'll also be doing some live tests on the cooker to establish if you are getting the correct voltage to the individual part of the element, because sometimes you may have a problem with either the thermostat, the selector switch, a fault with the wiring, and on more modern cookers, you may even have a problem with the circuit board. Common faults that can occur with a grill element. Firstly, you're turning the grill on, but there's no heat. This means that one of the circuits in the element may have become faulty. The second fault that can occur is your household electricity supply when turning the grill on, or the convection oven may be tripping the electricity supply, meaning that the element may have gone to earth. Another fault that can occur is when using the oven in conjunction with the convection oven, meaning the base element and the grill element, you might not actually get to the correct temperature. In other words, you're unable to reach high temperatures because one of the elements, either on the grill or the base element, has become faulty. Sometimes the food may be cooking at the bottom, but not cooking at the top. This means that you would have a problem with the grill element itself, but if it was the other way round, then you may have a problem with the base element. But you can see all about that in another video. On some cookers, the grill element is controlled, especially on freestanding cookers, by a different regulating system. It does not use the thermostat with the capillary tube. It uses an energy regulator. This works on resistance and turns the heat off and on to the required setting via resistance. So it is very important to understand if you are getting voltage to the element, because the energy regulators on some occasions can become faulty. Okay, when it comes to working on the cooker, always make sure it's disconnected from the electricity supply. This can be done either via the plug. On freestanding cookers, of course, this will be hardwired into the electrical system on the house and does need to be disconnected and isolated for safety purposes. Now, to test a cooker, you only need a cheap multimeter. It does not need to be an expensive one. It needs to be able to read continuity, ohms reading, and of course, voltage. The voltage supply will vary from wherever you are in the world. UK is 240, Europe is 220, and America is 110. Good set of screwdrivers, well recommended, and also a set of pin nose pliers, because sometimes when you're pulling these wires off, you can cut your hand on these sharp edges on a cooker. Now, I also use test meters that you can see up here, and there is a portable device that you can plug 13 amp sockets into, plugs into, and this will actually tell you what the appliance is drawing at any point when you're using the functions on the oven. It is a very useful tool for diagnosing problems. Okay, I've opened up the cooker because I didn't want to include this on the video, because every different type of manufacturer puts cookers together in a different way. But once you've exposed all the electrics at the back of the cooker, we will then be able to establish the three elements that are on this cooker. If you have a range cooker or a double oven, of course you would have more elements. But the basic principle of this oven cavity is the bottom element is called the base element. The one next to the fan motor, and usually located closest to the fan motor, is called a fan oven element, and the one at the top is called the grill element. In the United States, they name things differently, as vase and vase. Basically, it's boil elements that are on the top on the hob and baking elements that are in the oven, just to save any confusion with other people watching from around the world. Now, when it comes to actually establishing if you've got a good element or a bad element, we need to do some basic checks. And the most basic check you can do is to remove the wires off the element. Now, and then we'll use the multimeter to test it. This is where I say these pin nose pliers are valuable, because if you're pulling it off and you're close to an edge, you may cut your hand when it suddenly comes off. take a photograph of the colors, red on the outside on this cooker, then we've got black and white on the next circuit. And you'll notice here on this dual grill element that we have a linked wire, which is yellow, going from one terminal to the other on separate circuits, because this is the neutral most probably. And I'm just going to pull one of these off so we don't get a false reading when testing. Now, the basic check, turn your meter to continuity, turn it on. You want to establish that the meter is working correctly. Touch the two terminals together, you should have a perfect reading continuity. Then testing across the circuits, outer first, we have a reading. Inner part of the element, we have a reading. If you make a mistake and don't put the terminals on the correct circuit, so it's worth having a look in the oven first, but if you went across the two inner and outer, you'd have no reading, of course, because there is no resistance value because they're not joined. That's the basic check for continuity. Now, flicking your multimeter over to ohms and turning it on to the lowest setting on this meter, it's 200 ohms range, we would then be able to go across the outer circuit, and we have 54.5 or 54.6, and the inner circuit is 52.7. Although this element is rated at 1100 watts on the outer circuit and 1100 watts on the inner circuit, there sometimes is a slight variation on the meter and also the element. Remember, the meter is not calibrated, and also the element may be slightly old or worn, and it just got a slight variation in the readings. But using this number of 54.6, putting this into the Ohm's law calculator, which you can see on the screen here, we know that if we looked at the base plate on this element, it has 230 volts stamped on it. So when it was manufactured, it was rated to 230 volts. This is so the element works in UK and Europe as well. 230 volts with 54.6 resistance value. This then will allow the Ohm's law calculator, according to Ohm's law, to work out the wattage on the element. And as you will see on the screen here, the wattage is 1100 approximately for each circuit. Okay, now we've done a test on the element and we know we've got good circuits on the inner and outer part of the element. It might not be telling you if you've got an earth leakage problem, if the household consumer unit is tripping the electricity when either using the grill or the actual convection oven. The only way to test an element properly for earth leakage is with a tool called an insulation tester. This sometimes is known as a mega. These are very expensive instruments, and I do not expect you all to own these. But I will tell you a way that you're able to test the cooker if you are competent with electrics. You would be able to connect the cooker back up to, let's say, the inner circuit if you wanted to test the outer circuit was not tripping the electricity supply. Insulate the wire for safety purposes to make sure it doesn't short when you're actually putting the cooker back together. Plug the cooker back into the electricity supply. Test the cooker on all functionalities to make sure it's heating and not tripping the electrical unit. If it is tripping the electrical unit, then you may have a fault with the other element. So what you would do then is disconnect it from the electricity, reconnect the outer circuit, and try on the inner circuit. Do the test again, but do be aware it is possible that both circuits are going to earth. So on some occasions, you will need to take both wires off, test the oven after you've connected it back to the electricity on the actual convection oven. The grill will not work at all, of course, because it's not connected to the electricity. But this would at least point you in the right direction of being able to establish whether the element has got earth leakage and causing the problem in your household. Now that we've established that the element is all functioning correctly, but we still may have a problem with the oven either not heating correctly or the grill not working correctly. This could be a supply problem to the element. Now, as I said, this element is a dual element, so we need to test it on two circuits. Now, the way to do this is with a live test. And I do not expect people who are not competent with electrics to do this. You are going to need to call someone in to do a test on this. But I'm putting some crocodile clips on my meter here, and this is only for really the video purposes. I'm going to connect one crocodile clip up to the neutral on one side of the circuit, and I'm going to connect the other crocodile clip up to the other side. I'm turning my meter now to the correct voltage range, which is 240 volt range, and I'm turning it on. Now I'm going to have to plug the cooker back into the power supply, and I'll just reach over and I'll plug it in on this side, which is this meter, just in case you wanted to look at what was being drawn. And I'm going to turn the cooker on. The cooker initially initializes, but do remember you must always set your timer on the cooker before doing any tests. So I'm just going to reach over to the front here, turning the cooker to manual, and the first test that I'm going to do is on the grill element on the outer circuit. So I'm going to turn it to the actual grill oven element setting. This is to establish whether the grill is sending power to the outer circuit. So I'll just quickly flick round here, and I'm sorry I have to go all the way around to see the controls. Turning it to the grill, you can actually see no voltage. This is because I have not turned the thermostat on. Now, if you have a range cooker or a cooker that is using an energy regulator, this would be the same type of test to establish whether the outer circuit is working correctly. Turning the thermostat on, we can see immediately that we are drawing 230 volts, 238 volts, 240 thereabouts, and on our meter here we are pulling 2200 watts. This is because it is using the outer circuit and the inner circuit. And if I just move my crocodile clip over, remember the neutral is linked, so it will still have neutral there, and I connect across that, the inner circuit has got 240 volts as well. This means that that is working correctly. Now, the next test I want to do is turning this off. I am going to turn this to the convection oven. Now, as I said, the grill element is 2200 watts in total. The base element on this cooker is 1100 watts. So if the cooker was using the full grill element with the base element, it would be exceeding the amount of electricity that this cable is capable of. And that would be 3,300 thereabouts, plus the fan motor, light and other bits and pieces. So what they do on this cooker is only use one of the circuits, which would mean 1100 watts on the grill and 1100 watts on the base element. This would give us a combined reading of 2200 watts. Now I'm just going to turn this to the central one first, just so you can see. I've set it on the correct setting, and I'll turn the thermostat on. No reading on those two terminals, but if you look at our ampage meter up here, you will see that that is drawing 2300 watts of power. This means that the oven is not using the inner circuit, it is using the outer circuit. And if I swap that over, you can see now, you can see that voltage is getting to the outer circuit. This means that the oven is all functioning correctly. Now let me just explain some, if you've got no voltage, some of the faults that may be occurring. You may have a problem with the selector switch. This could be one of the terminals burnt out on the selector switch and not allowing power to go through to the actual grill element. You may also have a problem with a bad wire or connection somewhere on the cooker, or you have a thermostatic problem. On single ovens and double ovens, of course, this is working on a thermostatic system. On range cookers and also freestanding cookers, you may have a problem with the energy regulator. But if there's no supply coming to the element, that is your problem. Okay, you may also have a more modern cooker that is using a circuit board, or sometimes known as a PCB. I'll quickly explain, but this is in another video. Basically, PCB controlled cookers work on the principle of relays and NTC sensors. NTC sensors measure the temperature in the oven, and the relays activate each individual element. You may have a PCB in the cooker which has 5 or 6 different relays, and each of those relays are in charge of controlling a different function on the oven. You would have a relay for the base element, you would have a relay for the outer circuit on the grill element, the inner circuit on the grill element, the fan motor, even the light, and of course the fan oven element. If any one of these relays become faulty, then this can be the problem with the cooker. And diagnosing this is a little bit more tricky because you actually have to test the relays on the circuit board. Manufacturers today are building too much obsolescence into machines and making them highly complicated for no reason whatsoever. There is no need for circuit boards really on ovens. The basic function of an oven has not changed in many, many years. And there we go. I hope this video has helped you. And please remember, if you do have any faulty components on your cooker, to buy the parts off us, as that's what keeps us going and able to make these videos for you. If we really helped you, please remember to give the video a thumbs up. I would love to hear your comments about the video as well in the comments below. And if we really helped you, you can always click on the Bipolar Beer page to donate to the website to help us support you in the future with making these videos. Thanks very much indeed for watching.